Welcome. This is its Wakey time 11. This is what we're going to do. This is 11. It's about Janus. And then number 12, I'm going to do a response to something I saw Graham Hancock say on Joe Rogan. And 13 will be the Magic Kingdom. I'm all set up. I'm ready to do it. But I had to do the Janus video for the 11th video. That's important. 11 represents Janus, and we're going to get into that. After all, it is January. It is still the 11th, 11:44 p.m. And January was originally the 11th month. And then February was 12th, and then the first month starts in March again, which is the order of the zodiac signs. It was changed in Julius Caesar's time to be the first and the second month, January and February. And we'll get into that. This is a symbol of Janus. You have the beast side and the spiritual side. This is it's supposed to be left brain, right brain, but a lot of these images are flip-flopped. This could be a symbol for Janus going into the theater. So let's just get into it. I received this title, The Two-Faced God and the Hidden Secrets of the Brain. Janus. So, Janus is the Roman god of doors. Transitions, beginnings, endings. And January, like I said, is associated with Janus. That's why it's January. And it's the 11th month. Today's 11/11, and we started at 11:44 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But symbolically, 11 is associated with Janus. And for the sake of what I do on this show is to point out these types of things. Janus's dual faces symbolize the two hemispheres of the brain. Okay, he's the god of doorways. The door goes both ways, out, back in and outward. We'll get into that. So, Janus and the two hemispheres of the brain. The left hemisphere of the brain deals with logic, structure, language, looking to the past, analytical, intellect, not intelligence, intellect. Intelligence is intellect, and the gensia, the genera, the creator side. Male and female, intelligence, intellects. There's people with right brain schisms, and we'll get into all that. That's a different. It's a whole different thing. The right hemisphere, creativity, intuition, emotion, and looking to the future, visionary. These videos that I'm doing, this one and the next two, they very much tie in together. and you'll see how that works out. So here you have logic versus creativity. Past and future, the doorway, go through the door. So Janus is the god of doors and gates, passageways. Doors symbolize choices, opportunities, shifts in awareness. And it's not always with the Roman god Janus. If you get into mythology heavily or whatever, there's a lot of twin heroes, two brothers, things like that. They're very much connected to Janus. The number 11 is a master number. It represents spiritual awakening and balance between dualities. The 11. You the El even. El means God, God even, one and one, both sides. Um, so the origin of Janus has pre-Roman roots. Janus is one of the oldest gods in the Roman religion, believed to predate the pantheon of gods like Jupiter and Mars. But his worship likely stems from Indo-European traditions. And like I said, it's not always Janus, it's a Roman term, Ionis. They didn't have a J back then. Iuana. Obviously other cultures didn't call it Janus, but they definitely had deities associated with transitions and thresholds and doors and dualities. Some scholars suggest that Janus may have originally been a solar deity, but there's everything's a solar deity. I mean, it's not everything, but it's important when it is brought into the symbolism or a story. But it's you get tired of it. And this guy's the sun, and that guy's the sun also. There's a point to it, but it gets a little monotonous. But it does connect the setting and the rising sun, symbolizing the passage of time, doorways, portals, rebirth, renewal, cyclical. All nature is cyclical. So Janus held a unique position in Roman religion. They say he had no Greek counterpart, but like I said, if it doesn't have to be this guy and that guy, and they just have two different names, but the same story. Ioanus, I-A-N-U-S, because they had no J. It comes from the name, the Latin word ion, ionua, meaning door or gateway. So to say there's no Greek counterpart, we can get into Poseidon and Hades are the same person. One is the god of the sea before a cataclysm, and then Atlantis sank, and now that same character dwells in the underground, the underworld, the Hades. But there's your brother story again, but they're literally the same person. And also you've got the Greek. Hopefully I'm saying this right. Ionis. which gets translated to John, and goes back to Ea, Enki from the Sumerian time. Ioannis, Ioana, Jonas, Joanna, John. So you have Ionua, you have Iones, Ioannis, Ionua. Ioannis is the Greek form of the Hebrew. I'm saying this wrong. Yochanan, meaning Yahweh is gracious or gift of God. Now, the names may seem unrelated, okay, but they are tied very closely together with symbolism. So Janus is the god of beginnings, thresholds, passages, the doorways, and new experiences. John, as in John the Baptist, he's a forerunner who prepares the way for transformation. Baptizing people is a symbolic passage through water and crossing a threshold into spiritual awakening. Jesus starting his ministry, being transformed and coming out of the water. It's a doorway. It's a portal. John is very much connected to Janus or Janus or Ionua. And Janus is most often depicted with two faces. One looking forward and backward, so it's time and transition, but also looking left and right, east and west. Here's some examples. You'll see this wood carving a lot. I guess it is. I don't know. There's a statue. The younger man on the right, this. I guess you could do it either way. You have the younger man, the child within, the spiritual self. In this case, he's facing left, but facing right brain, and then the old man, who in the previous picture had horns because it's the beast side. This would be left brain. You could do it the other way. This is the wise old you, the soul you that's been through countless lives, and then this is the young you, the you now, the left brain, the person you are in this life. Once again, you have the old man and the younger man. This is a newer coin, but it does depict the younger man with the sun, so the left brain and the sun, so that's probably what's going on here. This is more of a doorway, the divine doorway, the right hemisphere of the brain. And obviously you have the key in the middle. And look here, up here at the top, 7. Actually, that's 12. 11, 12. So here's your January, February. This is your Janus time here. And then going into January 20th and going into February is Aquarius, which is John. That's why he's the Baptist. That's why he's the waterman, John, Aquarius. Ioannis, Ea, the freshwater god, the fish god. It's the same thing. It's Aquarius, 11 to 12. Because it's not 1 and 2. Here's an old coin with Janus. Not real sure what that is. Looks like a bird. That's significant. And it's possible Ioana. This is Ioana. This is Ionua up there. It's probably the typo. Ionua could be viewed as the feminine counterpart of Janus, representing a gateway to wisdom or understanding. And the name Ioana, which is feminine of Ioannis or John, which means gift of God, could symbolize the grace received through passing the spiritual doorway, the female side, the right way. And like I said, John the Baptist is linked to the waters of initiation. It's a gateway symbol. And this ties into Janus as a god of thresholds and transformation. So, Janus was seen as the god of all beginnings. Day and night, war and peace, life and death, past and future. Janus's name is derived from the Latin word Ionua. Talked about that. It means door or gateway. Now, there's a temple of Janus in Rome, or there was. I'm not sure if it's still there. It was a long time ago. One of the most significant symbols of Janus's importance in Roman culture was his temple, the Janus located in the Roman Forum. Now, this is interesting. The doors of the temple were left open during times of war and closed during times of peace. I don't know if that sounds familiar to you with what we just experienced in December with the Pope opening doors. The closing doors, very much tied into Janus. Open doors equals war and closed doors equals peace. And it could be the other way around. When we get into left brain, right brain, and meditation, you've got a war going on over here all the time on the left side, and then the right side is peace. When you open that door to the right side, then you go to peace. So that would be closed doors. Would stop that. The closed doors wouldn't be peace, but when you do that and you destroy Babylon, you destroy Egypt, you go to no thought, shut all this off. That's war. That could be war. And the door's open for that. So it could be open doors, war, closed doors, peace. I guess because when you go through that doorway, and we'll get into that, I will explain what brain parts do what and what it really is. But when you go through that doorway, I'd imagine the door closes behind you, but once you make it that far in the meditation, you're gone. You're gone. Janus was honored at the beginning of every Roman ceremony, regardless of which god the ritual was dedicated to. But his primary festival was on January 1st, because it's the new year, it's Janus, it's January. Julius Caesar changed it from the 11th month to the 1st month. It helped some people get elected or something. I looked it up. But unlike many Roman gods, Janus has no myths involving battles, love affairs, or dramatic events. His powers in daily life transitions, entering or leaving home, starting a journey, or beginning a new project. He was considered a protector of thresholds, physical thresholds like doors and gates, or metaphorical thresholds like changes in time, seasons, and phases of life, and then mystical, spiritual thresholds, the door in here. The pineal gland is like the knocker. Knock. They told Moses to knock, and it will be given to you. The door will open. And that's what happens when the fornix lights up the electrical, and we'll get into that. It's very much the doorway. So Janus didn't start with Rome, and obviously going back into the Greek, there's counterpart. But there are Indo-European roots of Janus. Janus is believed to have evolved from ancient Proto-Indo-European or P-I-E traditions that included gods representing the sky, sun, dawn, and transitions. But in many Proto-Indo-European descended cultures, gods of thresholds and duality were central to mythology. You have a transition in duality, day to night, life to death, past to future, the sun's journey, the sun's daily passage, rising in the east, beginning and setting in the west, ending, or just going full circle, you know, however you guys want to believe it. Gods with two faces or forms. Dual-faced or multi-faced gods appear in several Proto-Indo-European descended cultures, often representing time, transitions, and cosmic order. And like I said, you have the twin hero stories. You have two brother story, like two brothers that founded Rome, and it doesn't have to be, one guy with two faces. Sometimes it's two people. So in the Vedic tradition, you have Yama, the Hindu god of death and the guardian of thresholds. And Yama governs the passage from life to death. His name shares roots with the word Ayanua, which means door in Latin. In Norse mythology of Heimdall, the watchman of the gods, he guards the gateway to Asgard. So does Janus. He can see both into the past and future, much like Janus. And I don't know about you, and I talked about this in one of my videos. I think it was 8, sudden change. When you meditate or go to sleep and you go through the doorway, you can see in the past on your way there because everything's recorded, and you can see into your future and you're there. The Proto-Indo-European sky god, Dyaus, I don't know if I'm saying that right, the Pi root Dyaus means to shine, and is related to gods like Zeus, Jupiter, and Deus Pitar, Vedic. And Janus isn't a sky god, but he does share solar and celestial themes tied to time and transitions. And even in here is solar. So he's definitely a solar deity. I'm not saying he's not, it's just everything is, and it gets confusing. This is some repeating stuff, he's god of doors, he's a solar deity, because of the sunrise, sunset, beginning and ending of the day, cyclical nature of time. One of the other gods he's related to is the Celtic Belenus and Lu solar gods. And there are two. Lu is the sun. Left brain, Belenus, right. You could do it the other way, but Traditionally, the sun left brain and the moon right brain. So what is Indo-European? Indo-European refers to a family of languages and cultures share a common ancestral origin. Now, we were told for a long time that these languages and cultures can be traced back to a group of people who lived around 6,000 to 4,000 BC in the Pontic-Caspian steppe region, modern-day Ukraine, southern Russia, parts of Kazakhstan, northern Turkey, Mount Ararat, Göbekli Tepe, which changed things. But we were told they were nomadic herders, but with the discovery like Göbekli Tepe and all the other sites similar to it, stretching from northern Turkey down to Jordan, this was a civilization. You start popping up, stone pillars at the end of the day, when you've been hunting and gathering. So the discovery of Göbekli Tepe, I hope I'm saying that right. With the discovery there and many others, they definitely pushed civilization back. But it's Indo-European, so they spoke a common language. It gave rise to modern European and South Asian languages. They had a polytheistic religion, which we talked about before. They practiced seasonal rituals tied to the sun, moon, and agricultural cycles. And it says they used horses and chariots, which helped them migrate over vast distances, and that would explain the sites like Göbekli Tepe, found all the way from northern Turkey down into Jordan. And many of the world's languages today descend from the Proto-Indo-European. Italian, Spanish, French, Latin, Germanic English, German, Dutch Old Norse, Gothic, Celtic Irish, Welsh, Breton Gaulish, Slavic Russian, Polish, Serbian, Old Church Slavonic, Indo-Iranian Hindi, Persian Sanskrit, Farsi, Avestan, Greek, Modern Greek, Ancient Greek. And they shared a lot of common religious themes and mythologies of different cultures. We got into this a little bit earlier. Giving the Sky Father, chief god, Jupiter, Zeus, Deus Piton, Sky Father, Dawn, goddess, Aurora, Eos, Ushas. And then you have god of transitions, thresholds, like Janus and Yama. I don't know who None is. Maybe it's Nun. I have to look that up. But this ties in. Janus is part of all of these cultures. It just didn't pop up in Rome one day. But in Vedic mythology, for example, with Yama being the god of death and transitions, guiding souls across the threshold between life and death, or life and death. It's always both ways, depending on how you want to look at it. Excuse me. It's just water. So all of this mirrors Janus's role as the guardian or god of doors and passages. And like I said, Norse mythology, Heimdall guards the Bifrost Bridge, which connects the realms of gods and humans. Like Janus, he is a watchman of flesh, like the cherubim or the cerebrum that guards the way to the tree of life. The garden eastward in Eden. And we went over symbols. And we talked about Gobekli Tepe. I guess I think I was saying it right. Okay. We went over what that is, and you should look it up. It's a Gobekli, just like they do. They stop excavating at 5%. They get a lot of tourists. They said, oh, you can dig it up 150 years. They got in a dispute with the landowner. He planted olive trees, supposedly. It's illegal in Turkey to dig up olive trees. And there's a whole thing you can get into if you want to. Bottom line is they're not going to dig any more of it up. And there's 95% more. It's kind of like using this 10% of your brain and we're just going to bury that 90%. We don't want anyone finding out what's over there. But just like all this other stuff, you've got circular stone enclosures with T-shaped pillars carved with animal symbols and humanoid figures. And some of them are the symbolism of duality. Carvings depict life and death, predator and prey, masculine and feminine. It was definitely a spiritual center for these people. And Gobekli Tepe predates the Proto-Indo-European period by several millennia. But it may represent the earliest seeds of Indo-European religious ideas such as duality, sky gods and nature deities, and sacred thresholds, doors, portals, passageways. In some of the stone circles, there's 11 stones on the outside, and there's 2 in the middle representing the duality. There's your symbols with 2 animals facing each other at Gobekli Tepe. Very much has to do with duality. We don't need to get into Gobekli Tepe like I've got here. It's, most people I know, well, not most people, it's common around these parts, but look it up if you don't know what's going on with it. If there is 2 based imagery at Gobekli Tepe, and I'll show you. And as far as we know, that would probably be the oldest known site with this type of symbolism. So, I think we pretty much covered all this stuff. 2 central pillars, the duality, Gobekli Tepe, Indo-European myths, going into Rome, animal symbols, The layout of Göbekli Tepe suggests that it was a sacred threshold between two realms, the earthly realm of the living, the outside world, or without, the spiritual realm of the dead or divine, the inner sanctum, the doorway, Janus, the inner world within. This is just thorough notes, I guess, as it goes into some of the other stuff. Göbekli Tepe definitely mirrors this stuff. It probably is the oldest example of this stuff that we have. And I got some more photos to show you. We'll take a look at those. There are a couple enclosures at Göbekli Tepe. Like I said, they're made up of 11 pillars with 2 in the middle. There's V-shaped symbols carved into the pillars, and that may represent individual days in a lunisolar calendar with 11 epagamenal days. So there's your 11 again. And at Karan Tepe, at another place, there's an 11-pillar pool structure also. And I'll look into those other sites. I just learned about them recently, that there were a lot more. I'm sure you can find a road that leads to Rome and Janus. So this is a symbol of Janus. And you have the scepter with the sun, and that, it could represent the divinity of the right side, and the key to open the door, the left frame. And you could possibly flip it the other way. Here's some modern symbolism of Janus: the beast side, the left frame, and the feminine side, the moon, and the kingdom, the heavenly side, the right hemisphere. Here's the picture of the sites at Göbekli Tepe, and there's 11 pillars around the outside. There's 2 you can't see. You have the 2 here. Entering in, leaving, entering in the spiritual world, and leaving back into the physical world, or you can flip it. Here's an overhead view, and you see the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 T pillars around the outside, and then the 2, the 11, the 2 in the middle. This guy. Here's another duality symbol from Göbekli Tepe. The guy, he is holding his penis here. 2 lions, 2 big cats facing him. And that's what the next video is about. It'll be its Wakey Time 12. And so Graham Hancock was on Joe Rogan recently again. And there was a conversation about this picture and its counterparts all over the world, and how nobody knows what these symbols mean. I'm like, I got news for you. Somebody knows. I know. And I'm going to do a video on it. So here you have the man and the 2 big cats facing him, the duality. Should he do this or not? This is interesting. There's a bowl over here, and the wall ends there, but this is very important. You'll understand this in the next video, that the bowl, being in this duality carving, there's always bowls. There you can see the bowl there. Oh, that's the last picture. And we'll get into why the bull's there. Very much will get explained in the next video. When I respond to, I've probably been shaking this camera. I don't care. I'm going to respond to Graham Hancock saying nobody knows what these symbols mean. I do. Yeah, I already knew before, but you know, we'll get into that. That's the next video. But this has been a different experience for me up here, up in my office. I'll get set up for 2 people up here. I got a sweet table, but to do the Magic Kingdom, I needed the photos and the screen, and I was ready to do my response to Graham Hancock, but it's January. I got to do a Janus video. It's the 11th. Who knew? I didn't really plan it that way, but I just decided earlier, like I just wanted to do this, and now I'm doing it, and that's how it always works out. But this has been Janus. I had a title. I said it earlier. I don't remember what it is. It's probably not important. But the point is there's always been this duality symbol, which turned into this two-faced God. And what it is really is the 2 hemispheres of your brain, the 2 personalities of yourself, the beast side, the spiritual side, the animal side, and the soul side, and what they represent. And that's a lot. We'll have to get into. We will get into that because it's the whole thing. And we'll talk more about that in detail in the next video. It's related, which is why this just ended with this image when I did the research for this video, and it goes right into the next one. So, that's about it for tonight. It is 12:26. 1 plus 2 is 3. Plus 6 is 8. 3 and 8 is 11. This is It's Wakey Time 12. I'll put the title up. Something about Janus and duality and the hidden brain secrets or something. I don't know. But thank you. Thanks for watching. And it's been different. It's been fun. All right. Take care.